We often hear about people experiencing burnout. For Mental Health Awareness Month, we are taking a closer look this morning at burnout.
Yeah, it's the result of prolonged stress. It's important to know the signs and what leads up to it. So joining us now to share more about this, some coping skills, psychotherapist and author Robi Ludwig. Dr. Robi Ludwig, so good to have you with us today. So let's talk about this, right? New York City, it is a city of people who work very, very hard. They want to achieve their dreams. What is the difference between that and just feeling tired and really, truly being burnt out?
Well, it's interesting because burnout is something that actually creeps up on a person. So you might not be aware of it right away, but it is chronic stress that takes its toll emotionally and physically and behaviorally. And it's usually when a person feels like they just can't do anything else. Like their load is full and their life is full and they just feel like they're just being drained by all the things that they need to do on any given day or week.
So let's talk about some of the signs and the symptoms. So let's first look at the physical signs of burnout. What are some of the key things to look for here? We have some here up on the screen.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because burnout can be hard to identify because it looks different in different people, and so it's very often somebody doesn't realize it, and that's why we have the signs. It could be feeling tired or drained, lower immunity where you get sick frequently, frequent headaches or muscle pain. Sometimes your stomach doesn't feel quite right. So be attuned to those physical symptoms because not everybody is always in touch emotionally.
Yeah, well, emotional signs are something else actually to look out for as well. Feeling tired and drained seems to be a theme among all of these symptoms, but a sense of failure, a sense of self-doubt, loss of motivation. One thing that stood out to me, increasingly cynical.
Yeah, so, a person can get angry when their resources are being drained and they feel spent. And that's usually the sense of somebody who's burnt out, that there isn't enough time to attend to their own personal needs. Sometimes they also feel like they have imposter syndrome or feel hopeless because they just can't get their bearings and they haven't figured out how to take care of themselves. I was saying to a friend just this morning that especially in New York City, sometimes you have a million great options and you have to learn how to say no and put those boundaries up. It's not always something bad. Sometimes it's too many good things that you have to figure out how to say no to.
Let's talk about some of the behavioral signs as well. Burnout could lead to particular types of behaviors. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, so sometimes people withdraw, they isolate, sometimes they engage in binging on alcohol or drugs in order to cope, procrastinating also because, again, they're just feeling like there's no energy to do the things that they need to do because they've just over-evaluated what they can do. I think that if you're an ambitious person, there is a tendency to say, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can take on one more thing when they really can't.
And that happens to a lot of us, especially at work, right?
It's the New York City way.
Yeah.
And yes, and I think jobs are trying to be more mindful now of the worker, and companies that are going to be successful moving forward because burnout has actually increased. These companies have to be aware of mental health and how to have like a Wellness Wednesday or invite, let's say, experts to come in and teach what do you need to do for yourself. Maybe even weekends where companies get their members together so they can focus on yoga, journaling, and taking time out for oneself.
And in the end, that produces a more productive, much happier employee as
and
well.
more motivated.
More motivated, yeah.
People don't leave jobs because they're not getting paid well necessarily, or it's usually because they don't feel valued in the way that they need to. And if someone feels valued, they will be much more committed and ambitious.
Yeah.
In these last couple moments we have here, let's bring up some tips that you share. You always say look to the 3 R's if you are battling burnout.
Yes.
So easy to remember. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so it's recognize, reverse, and resilience. So you want to recognize for you, what are the signs and triggers for you when you're pushing yourself too much? And try to reverse it. So if you're a person who is not getting enough rest, enough exercise, not taking enough time to be with friends and connect, then you want to try to include that into your life. And resilience, this is what we do in order to make ourselves stronger. So do things that increase wellness. You can go to therapy, make time with friends, get out in nature, and treat yourself well, like you treat your best friend, and try to incorporate that on a regular basis.
Yeah, all about personal wellness, right? Taking care of yourself and recognizing those signs.
And recognizing, you know what, I'm pushing myself. Even though my motivation might be there, I know in the end I'm not going to feel good, so I have to say no. You could say yes later when the time is right.
Yeah.
It's always a balancing act.
It really is. Life-work balance is the key.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.